Tom's eyes opened to a ceiling that hummed softly, panels glowing with shifting colors he couldn't name, and for a moment he thought he was still dreaming, or that he had been abducted by aliens, which, considering his luck, seemed plausible. His first conscious thought was, why is the floor cold? The second was, why am I naked? He flailed one arm out, smacking something metallic and hearing a sharp ping, followed by the unmistakable hiss of escaping air. Then he noticed he wasn't alone. Two figures stood, or rather hovered, across the room. They looked human enough at first glance, except for the ears. Long, curved, and impossibly elegant, they arched like sculpted blades, gleaming faintly in the cell's ambient light. Tom blinked. Hi." His voice cracked, which made him wince, realizing that in addition to being naked, he sounded like a pubescent robot. The taller one, whose eyes were the color of green starlight, tilted her head and let out a sound that was halfway between a laugh and a sigh. "Finally awake," she said. Her tone suggested she had expected this scenario more times than she cared to count. "And still adorable, I see." Her sister, slightly shorter, amber-eyed, with ears twitching as though they had minds of their own, crossed her arms and raised an eyebrow. "Cute isn't exactly the word I would use," she said. "Clumsy, panicked, and oddly fragrant, yes, maybe." Tom swallowed. "Fragrant?" he asked. He looked down at himself, then back at them. "Do humans usually smell bad when we wake up?" The taller one laughed, a melodic noise that made the walls vibrate ever so slightly. "Only in the mornings, and especially after whatever misadventures led you here." She glanced around the room where panels flickered, wires hummed, and a cylindrical device in the corner glowed faintly. "It's impressive you survived the transport without fainting." "Transport," Tom said, stepping backward and almost tripping over a console that seemed to grow arms of its own, sliding and glowing to avoid his feet. What do you mean, transport? I was just sleeping in my apartment yesterday." The shorter sister smirked. "And now you're in a containment pod that doubles as a psychological lab. I would call it inconvenient, but humans have a way of turning every disaster into comedy." She flicked her hand, and a holographic display projected above the console, showing his vital signs, brain waves, and a small emoji of a confused cat. "See, even the equipment agrees." Tom groaned. "Great. Holographic judgment now, too. I'm doomed." The taller one stepped closer, ears swaying, and extended a hand. "I'm Lyra," she said. "And this is my sister, Saris. You are now our unwitting study subject. Try not to panic, or do. We find that more interesting." Tom stared at the hand, then at her long ears, then back at the hand. "Right. Waking up in a futuristic cage naked with aliens, yeah, that's normal Tuesday stuff." Saris rolled her eyes, but didn't hide the twitch of amusement. "You humans are remarkably self-deprecating. I approve." Suddenly, a soft chime echoed through the chamber, and the lights dimmed in sequence, highlighting the walls, hidden conduits, and floating panels. The cell itself responded to their presence, humming, vibrating, and shifting slightly, as if curious about him, too. Tom stumbled forward to steady himself on a railing that wasn't really there. Gravity was weirdly flexible in this place, and muttered, "Okay, maybe I am dreaming. Either that or this is a very elaborate prank." Lyra leaned in, her ears brushing almost comically against a hovering hologram. "We assure you," she said, "it's neither a dream nor a prank, but humor is encouraged. It makes your reactions far more data-rich." Tom gave a shaky laugh. "Data-rich, huh? So I'm breakfast, lunch, and dinner for alien science? Fantastic." Saris floated closer, flicking a panel that made a soft, whirring noise. "Don't worry, you might also be dessert. We're flexible." Tom sank to the floor, realizing that whatever this place was, he was going to have to survive it with wit, charm, and a shocking tolerance for awkwardness. And judging by the way Lyra's ears quivered when he cracked a nervous joke about space toilets, that might actually help. Tom had spent the first few hours trying, and failing, to understand the cell systems, which seemed to respond more to mood than commands. He pressed a panel, hoping for a door to open, and instead a tray popped out, filled with what looked like gelatin cubes in colors that defied description. Lyra hovered nearby, ears flicking in amusement. "Breakfast," she said. "Or lunch. Time is flexible here." Tom poked a blue cube cautiously. It wobbled like jelly but emitted a faint glow and a soft humming sound. He sniffed it, and it smelled faintly of strawberries and burnt circuits. "Do humans eat this?" he asked, uncertain if he was supposed to chew or meditate over it. Saris floated closer, ears twitching in mock concern. "Some do, most regret it." She touched a cube, and it instantly transformed into something resembling a donut, complete with shimmering sugar crystals. You see, our containment isn't cruel. It's adaptive. It caters to mistakes. Tom laughed, picking up the donut-shaped treat. He took a bite, grimaced, and muttered, "If this is your idea of humane treatment, I'm reconsidering my life choices." Lyra chuckled, making the holographic panels ripple like water. "Humans are so dramatic. We'll record that reaction for later, very data-rich." After breakfast, which involved several accidental transformations of food, and one near miss where Tom's hand passed through a levitating cube, Lyra decided it was time to begin proper study. Tom groaned. "Proper study? Oh no, am I about to fail some alien pop quiz?" Sarah shook her head. "No tests, think of it as cultural exchange, and observation, and mild torment in no particular order." Lyra gestured toward a floating console. "Answer honestly. Humans experience emotions in a variety of ways. We want to see them in action. Tell us, what makes you happy?" Tom thought for a moment, then shrugged. "Well, small victories, like successfully microwaving something without setting off the smoke alarm. And puppies, or wait, cats? Do humans like cats more? I forget." Sarah snorted. "Cats, classic Earth survival mechanism. Entertainers of humans for centuries." She floated closer, ear tips brushing his shoulder. "Notice how you hesitate? That little flicker of indecision is fascinating. It's efficient for analysis." Lyra raised an eyebrow. "And what makes you angry?" Tom made a face. "Traffic, bad coffee, people who chew loudly, and apparently getting abducted by aliens without consent." He paused. "Although you two seem nice in a terrifying way." Both sisters exchanged a look, ears swaying like twin metronomes. Lyra tilted her head, voice teasing. "Nice, terrifying, yes, perfect. You've already given us enough material for a week." The day continued with absurd experiments. Tom was asked to react to holographic scenarios. Aliens juggling fire, Earth politicians performing ballet, a combination of the two. Each time, his responses were carefully recorded in the cell's memory banks, while the princesses debated whether his laughter was genuine or a defensive reflex. At one point, he tripped over a levitating console and landed in a soft, glowing pool of liquid that tickled his skin. "Seriously, is this your idea of a spa?" He groaned. Saris floated down, barely suppressing a laugh. "Only if spas involved minor embarrassment and zero privacy." By evening, the cell had grown quieter, the panels dimming to soft, ambient hues. Tom leaned against the wall, exhausted but strangely exhilarated. Lyra floated beside him, ears brushing against his arm. "Humans are so unpredictable," she said, almost to herself. "Unpredictable?" Tom asked, squinting. "You mean like a cat? Or like a microwaved jelly cube that turns into a donut?" She chuckled. "Both, exactly. And that unpredictability makes you invaluable to us." Tom blinked. "Invaluable? Wait, so this isn't just a science project. You're studying me." Saris floated closer, ears twitching like antennas. "You're studying us as much as we're studying you? Human emotions are intricate, sometimes messy, sometimes hilarious. You're teaching us without realizing it." Tom sank to the floor, laughing and groaning simultaneously. "I think I just signed up for the weirdest intergalactic exchange program ever. Can I at least get a t-shirt?" Lyra smiled, ears quivering. "No t-shirt, but laughter is currency here. Keep that up, and we might let you live another day without levitating donuts attacking you." And in that moment, as the cell hummed and floated around them, Tom realized that surviving this alien study wouldn't just be about avoiding harm. It would be about keeping his wit intact, or at least pretending it was. By the third day, Tom had stopped panicking about being naked, being poked by holograms, or being laughed at by two long-eared alien princesses. Instead, he had started arguing back, cracking jokes at the precise moments Lyra and Saris would record the most authentic human response, and somehow survived the daily chaos of levitating food, flickering gravity, and random bursts of fluorescent mist. He was beginning to feel like an actual participant in the study rather than a test subject, and that subtle shift made all the difference. Lyra floated down beside him, ears quivering in what Tom had learned was amusement. "We've been analyzing your emotional patterns for 72 hours now," she said. "And it's official. You are, without question, the most entertaining human we've encountered." Tom grinned. "Well, I aim to please." Mostly unintentionally, but still. Saris materialized on the other side of the cell, her long ears flicking like twin radar dishes. "Entertainment aside," she said. Your reactions have taught us more about human resilience than we expected. Not just fear or humor, but curiosity, adaptability, and, dare we say, compassion. Tom raised an eyebrow. Compassion? You mean like when I tried to save the jelly cube from being accidentally vaporized by the anti-gravity field? Lyra laughed, soft and musical. Exactly. That moment among countless others proved that you're not just a collection of reflexes and survival instincts. You actually think and care. That is valuable. For the first time, Tom realized the study had not been about humiliation or interrogation. It had been about connection. The princesses were observing, yes, but they were also learning to understand humans in a way their own civilization rarely allowed. And somewhere in the swirl of floating panels and soft glowing light, Tom felt an unfamiliar warmth, like being appreciated, really appreciated for being himself. The cell shivered once, as though acknowledging a change in its occupants. Lyra gestured toward a console, and a panel slid open, revealing a narrow corridor lined with the same soft luminescence that had guided Tom since he arrived. "We are authorized to release you," she said, ears swaying. "But only because you have passed the final evaluation." Tom hesitated. "Evaluation? Wait, so I was being graded this whole time." Sarah smiled, a flicker of amusement in her amber eyes. "Consider it a trial of empathy, wit, and adaptability. You excelled, barely, but you did." As he stepped toward the corridor, Tom realized he was no longer the confused, terrified man who had tumbled naked into a cell. He was sharper, quicker, and strangely more confident, able to handle the absurdity of floating donuts, flickering gravity, and sarcastic aliens with humor rather than despair. He even understood them in ways he hadn't thought possible, learning to read subtle ear twitches and micro-expressions, realizing that the long-eared princesses were as human in their emotions as they were alien in appearance. Lyra drifted beside him. "Before you leave," she said, voice softening, "we should warn you. Humans are unpredictable, and that unpredictability, it fascinates us. We will carry your reactions back to our people, yes, but more importantly, you've taught us that some things can't be fully measured." Laughter, courage, hope. Tom smiled, feeling the weight of that moment. "So I'm famous now? Legendary? Or just the guy who made aliens giggle at breakfast?" Sarah's ears twitched. Both and more, perhaps a warning to future humans. She touched a hand to the console, and the corridor began to shimmer, warping space around it. "Go carefully, and thank you, Tom, truly." He stepped forward into the corridor, light rippling over his skin like a second sun, and for a fleeting moment he felt the pulse of the cell behind him. A heartbeat of experience, of chaos, and of growth. He had survived, yes, but more importantly, he had learned. Resilience, humor, and empathy were not just human traits. They were tools for understanding and connection, even across the stars. As the corridor stretched and bent, carrying him back to the world he had known, he turned for one last glance. Lyra and Sarah stood there, ears swaying gently, watching him leave with expressions that were both regal and tender. Tom waved awkwardly. "Keep the donuts in check," he called over his shoulder. Lyra laughed. "We'll try, but humans are hard to forget." Sarah nodded, especially the ones who laugh while being abducted. And with that, Tom stepped into the light, carrying the improbable truth of his adventure. That even the strangest encounters could teach him who he really was, and that humor, curiosity, and courage